If everybody would like to join me in the OA obligation. I do hereby promise on my honor as a scout that I will always and faithfully observe and preserve the traditions of the Order of the Arrow. When Moktadink, Wing Alausik, Witahemaway. I will always regard the ties of brotherhood in the Order of the Arrow as lasting, and will seek to preserve a cheerful spirit even in the midst of irksome tasks and weighty responsibilities, and will endeavor, so far as in my power lies, to be unselfish in service and devotion to the welfare of others. Okay, so my report, few things to report. Obviously, the cancellation of NOAC. So everybody who planned on going to NOAC, it was canceled due to coronavirus. Sad to hear that, but I think that they've made the choice that they needed to make. I don't believe that they thought that it was safe for us to go there, so I respect that decision. Keeping people safe is the #1 priority. So we'll be looking forward to NOAC with the next couple of years. But this year, not so much. So, Mr. Casey, do you want to talk about refunds or anything like that, what those are looking like for right now?
Thank you, Chief. I will. For those that are on the meeting who made NOAC payments, the check requests have been submitted to the council. They haven't told me whether they're going to be in the next check request or in the check request after that, or the check writing after that. So I will follow up with them, and the minute I have a date, I'll let you guys know, because the check comes in a very plain envelope, and it doesn't say it's from the council or anything. It was in my email to you guys. So be careful. It looks like junk mail. So just be aware of that. Thank you, Chief.
So last thing I would like to say about NOAC is I would like to thank everybody that worked on at least the planning on our end for it. I'd like to thank Mr. Casey, Everett, Everett who worked with us to get the backpacks and apparel and stuff together. Everybody who was involved with the patch. We made a killer patch this year, sadly. We won't get to wear it to NOAC, but at least we'll be able to trade it as the NOAC that never happened patch. So thank you to everybody who was involved with that. Next, I would just like to talk about COVID just in general. I know it's been a pretty tough time for us. Everybody has to be home. We've been missing pretty much the busy part of this season with inductions and elections and stuff like that going on. So I really commend everybody for working through this. We've been doing a really good job making sure that we've been getting our work done, even though this has set us back a little bit. I also want to talk a little bit about what we can be doing while moving forward. So looking forward, the dates for things that we've been trying to plan are difficult because of what New York State is allowing us to do and what they're coming out with every once in a while. Because the situation is so fluid, we're kind of just taking their New York State's guidance and the CDC's guidance and going with that. So I'd like to thank everybody for being so patient with us, and to continue being patient with us while we get out those dates and other information. There was also something else I didn't write down. So today during the meeting is going to be the Vigil Call Out. So in the email that you were sent, there was the link to a YouTube video for the Vigil selection. If you could go into your email while keeping the Zoom call on, you can open up that link and it'll bring you to a new tab, and that video will premiere for all of us at the same time. And I'm going to give it off to Sam to explain that a little bit better. So Sam, you want to explain that a little better?
So at a later point in this meeting, we will be going and watching a YouTube video. This YouTube video is our lodge's Vigil Call Out. We would originally do the call out at the spring induction, but since of current times, we decided to do it virtually so that we could still call out those that we nominated this year. How it will work is at a time that Dyer will say later, which is just later down the meeting. All of us will still stay on the Zoom, but just go over to the YouTube page, making sure that we mute ourselves first on the Zoom call. And while there, I will start the video for everybody at the same time. There is a live chat so that if you want to, you can comment in it, do whatever you want really. And it's a 6-minute video that was put together for the Vigil class of 2020. And after that, we'll come back here and finish up the meeting.
Thank you, Sam. So next, we'll move on to the Vice Chief of Admin's report with Grant.
All right, so first off, we have the Tamak chapter report. Jack, are you here to give that?
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. So to start off, we had the Cub Yukon in February. We ran this event at Rotary. It's essentially like a Klondike, except for Cub Scouts. We taught them a lot of great scout skills. They had a lot of fun playing a bunch of different games we set up. And of course, we had candy for them, which they enjoyed a lot. Then we had our lock-in. Our annual lock-in was at Newtonville Methodist Church. Same thing as a normal lock-in, snacks, games. Of course, everyone had a great time. We didn't sleep much though. Unit elections, despite everything that happened this year, we were very successful in terms of elections this year. We had 11 elections, 7 of which we could hold in person, and 4 we held virtually, and that yielded us 40 Ordeal candidates. And then finally, visitations. We had a very successful visitations program last year, which we continued into this year. Troops in our district now have the option, if they might not, for whatever reason, be able to hold an election, to have us come in, have a visitation team come in and tell them a little bit about the OA. And I think that's really been sparking a lot of interest in a lot of people. So.
Thank you, Jack. All right, so next up we have the Loon chapter report. And so Troy was unfortunately unable to attend, but luckily he sent me the chapter report. So Loon chapter has been holding virtual unit elections led by Pat Andrews. We have a good group of Ordeal candidates for when we can hold an induction weekend. Our airmen have been dedicated to working on Camp Bedford even during this tough time. We put a new roof on Petty Lodge. Also, the grounds just got freshly mowed on Wednesday. Next up, we have the Knox and EMAT chapter report. Is Knox and EMAT representative here to give that report?
Yep. So we had our May leaders conference call and our May chapter meeting, where we discussed all the business we had, which included remaining elections. After that, we had our May 31st conference call, where we discussed the remaining elections we had, as well as a service project idea our service chair had, helping at the regional food bank farm. Volunteers would help plant and work in the field that the food bank uses to grow food to everyone that they distribute to. We also had our June 9th chapter meeting on Zoom, where we had 17 people attend, 10 youth and 7 adults. We got an idea for the interest for the service project and are currently working on sending up Sign Up Genius to see how many people in our chapter are willing to go each day we selected. We've also completed all of the elections that are scheduled. After the business portion of that meeting, we did an OA Jeopardy for any member present that wanted to play. Our next chapter conference call will be July 5th, and our meeting date was changed to July 21st due to some of our leadership being in Florida for the Council Sea-Based trip. I'm told to ask if any other chapter chiefs want to participate in the service project, or they think their chapters might be interested, reach out to me, and I can get you some information on that.
Thank you, Bennett. All right. Next up, we have our Taconic chapter report. Is there a representative from Taconic chapter here that can give the report? All right, if not, Carl has sent me the report, so I am able to that. to everybody. All right. So
Carl is on the call somewheres. Carl, you there? He was on a few minutes ago.
He's still on. He's unmuted himself now.
He's having technical difficulties.
Can you hear me? No.
How about now?
oh, that's Carl.
Yep, there he is.
Okay, I just had to fix some software issue. All right, so for our unit elections, we had 2 virtual unit elections were held in May, with the last unit election being virtually this past week. And 26 of the Ordeal candidates elected so far in 2020 were called out during the ceremony on March 30th as part of the council's virtual camporee. The total number of Ordeal candidates is presently 28, but we may receive 1 or 2 additional adult candidate nominations next week. And for as far as our chapter elections go, our chapter elections have been postponed until September.
Thank you, Carl. And then lastly, we have the Wakami chapter report. So as representative. Chapter.
I am on. So for Wakami chapter, we've been doing virtual troop elections. We have three to four more to do. They'll be done before the deadline on September 1st. We had a meeting in May. I don't have any numbers for how many people attended. We decided to skip our July meeting, and we decided to have that for our officer elections. So if anybody in Wakami chapter that is interested in becoming Wakami chapter lodge officer, Wakami chapter officer, please let Nancy Chiclella know. Our ligament training with co-chairs Hunter Harrington and Austin Mandigo has been postponed to July. We will be also doing a ceremonies with Ryan Jones that was also postponed to July. Both of those things are open to all youth and adults, and that's all for Wakami.
Thank you, Thea. All right, Anthony, that is the end of the report.
Thank you. Next, we have Vice Chief Program with Lance.
Hello. Okay, so for committee reports, we do not have a lodge historian report for this one. I never got a report back. So I don't know what you want to do, Dyer, but we're going to look for a new one today.
Yeah. So if anybody's interested or knows anybody who would be interested in being the lodge historian, tell them to reach out to either myself, Mr. Casey, or Lance about filling that position. We can give more information if they email us. But the position is open, so.
Yes. All right, so we'll just move on to ceremonies. Sam, do you have a report?
Yeah, so in lieu of the times that we are in, we did miss the height of our ceremonial season. However, we have taken a twist to what we usually do, and we've moved virtually. The YouTube video that you will see today is an example of what the lodge ceremonial virtual team has been doing. It consists of these 2 knuckleheads and this one. And so that YouTube channel, Kittan Lodge Trainings, will be the home to some things down the line as we continue to live in this different time. And we will also be putting things up there once we get back to normal as well. So if you guys go to that YouTube page, Kittan Lodge Trainings, feel free to click subscribe and the little bell icon. I sound like a YouTuber now. I really do.
You do.
But yeah, there's the regular Ordeal call out on there already posted that was put together for the council camporee just a couple of weeks ago. Feel free to go watch them. It has the names of all of those who got elected this election season. I will be updating it as more names come in. So do not fear if there's a couple of names here or there that aren't there. They will be there eventually as they come in. But that YouTube page, feel free to check it out. And that's about it for ceremonies.
All right, thank you, Sam. Next we got apparel, Everett and Will.
Yeah, thank you, Lance. So all I have is, unfortunately, as we all know, NOAC has been canceled. And on the other hand, the Lodge will still be giving out the NOAC backpacks and patches for this year. But stay tuned for future apparel. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So the Vigil Selection Committee, that's Sean.
Hello.
Hello.
As we all know, due to COVID-19, there's been a bunch of challenges in the OA. But we've been able to adjust, including just to keep the program moving forward. We held the Lodge's first virtual selection meeting at 8 a.m. on April 18th, 2020. During this meeting, 14 of our brothers were elected to keep their vigil. The Vigil honor members that were in attendance: Anthony Dyer, Troy Bulris, Max Schaefer, Carl Weingartner, Theo Mann, myself, Fox, my father, Mr. Streets, Mr. Casey. The Vigil selection process ran very smoothly and was completed by 10:25 a.m. Because of the pandemic, the original Vigil weekend, July 25th through the 26th, has been postponed and will be rescheduled at a later date. We're hoping for sometime in August or September at Walk Pomney, but that has not yet been determined. A lot of what we do is dependent on the COVID-19 requirements. As we move forward, we're going to try to plan future events. Even though we have not scheduled a new date, all of the guides have agreed to their role and to their roles of the candidates and have confirmed that they will continue the visual process. We can't confirm that they're going to continue the visual process.
Okay. Thank you, Sean. And we got elections with Grant.
All right, so we have the total right now for how many people elected from each chapter. So from Tamak, currently we have 41 people elected. From Loon chapter, we have 8 people elected. Knox and Emat, 37. Taconic, 29. And Wapomini, 36. So that gets us a grand total of 151 arrowmen. And then so that is 134 youth and 15 adults and 2 youth plus. And then, because this is the first year, right, we have females in scouting who can be elected. So of the 151 elected, 137 were male and 14 were female, and including the first elected female youth in Kittan Lodge.
Okay, thank you, Grant.
All right, so thank you, Lance. Next, we'll have the treasurer's report with Everett.
All right, thank you, Chief. So I will go over the Lodge's chapter balances now. So this quarter, Tamak has $1,201.57. Taconic has $297.64. Knox and Emat chapter has $2,752.54. Wapomini chapter has $4,139.11. And Loon has $2,490.93. The Lodge balance without the chapter balances is combined to $55,454.19, and the entire combined Lodge account balance with the chapters is $66,335.98. And other than that, I know Fox has sent out the June Lodge newsletter, and within that, I don't know which page it is, but there is the 2020 lodge apparel order form. So this year's NOAC patches, along with 2018's NOAC patches and a few other pieces of apparel, is up for sale there. So if anybody is interested in purchasing any of the lodge apparel, you can contact Mr. Shaver from the form. Thank you.
Thank you, Everett. So next we'll have the secretary's report with Fox.
All right, so the February LECM minutes are on the Lodge website on the LECM minutes page. Dyer, do we have to put that for a vote for approval?
Sure.
Okay. So everyone in favor of approving the LECM minutes, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. So we have the first year Airman Award that I was working on. So that's going to be for our new inductees. And that's going to help keep them active and get activated into the OA. There's some different criteria they'd have to do. So that will help with our activation. The 2020 membership cards have been emailed out. If you didn't get one, please contact me. And social media, right now we have 140 followers on our Instagram. So that's a pretty good number. If you haven't already, please follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Kittan Lodge 364 and Facebook on Kittan Lodge. I think that's all I have.
All right, thanks, Fox. So we'll go on to old business now. So really the only old business thing we have is February's LECM, which was up in Glens Falls. It went well. We had a decent turnout. We had pizza, so that was good. Not much has gone on since then, obviously, because this whole COVID thing kind of kicked off right after that. So we've just been working on trying to reschedule things and make sure that we're not falling behind with this whole thing. And we've been doing a pretty good job at that, keeping elections going and stuff like that. So that's pretty much all I have for old business. So we'll move into new business. The first part of new business is Conclave 2020. Mr. Casey, you want to talk about Conclave 2020? Or was there any other information you wanted to say about it? I remember we talked about it before.
The current status of the conclave is that it is still taking place. I know that we all saw yesterday that the governor made put out a position through the health department that sleepover summer camps are not going to take place. I don't know what that status means for a weekend event at a council camp. I also know that it's up to Leatherstocking Council as to whether or not the conclave will take place. We will have to wait and see what the what Leatherstocking Council tells the section, and they will get back to us. Relative to section elections or how any of that stuff would take place, that's still up in the air, and the section advisors have not shared that information. And if anyone has any further questions about this, we can discuss it after the meeting. That's all I have, Chief.
Okay. All right. So we'll move on to Vigil weekend because we can't view the call out right now because the video has to be done it's not going to happen at 5. I know it shows up for that, but we have to set it in a 15-minute increments. So we set it up for 2:45. So we'll talk a little bit about these other things and then move on to that at 2:45. So if I start rambling on, somebody please tell me at like 2:43 or whatever that it's 2:43 so that we can all watch the video together. So let me talk a little bit about Vigil Weekend while we have it up here. So Vigil Weekend, like Sean said, it had to be postponed. We do not have a solid date yet. We're looking for around August to September. That's only because we really don't know what guidelines we're going to have by July or even by August or September, if we're even going to be able to have a dinner or anything like that. So we really don't know what's going to happen with that, but we are planning on having one just later, maybe into the early fall, late summer area.
Dyer, wasn't there a weekend scheduled for August 8th? Wasn't that already on the schedule?
It was July 24th to 25th, I believe. But then we had to postpone it. The August 8th date was moved because of the proximity to Conclave. That was moved earlier this year.
Okay.
NOAC, Chief, we would have.
Yeah, that too, NOAC.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. Thank you.
Okay, so the next thing is the Lodge Induction Weekend at Rotary, September 11th through the 13th. So the Lodge is still planning on having this induction. More information to come about how many people, if we're restricted by number of people that can go, if we'll need to wear masks, if we're not going to need to wear masks, what's going to happen with all that. So pay attention to the emails and everything that we'll be sending out and other meetings, that information that comes out about that, because we still are planning on having it, but we have to follow the New York State guidelines and the CDC's guidelines with that. Excuse me.
Could I add something?
Yeah.
If we do have that event at Rotary, everybody needs to remember that the camp has been closed and hasn't been open. There'll have to be an effort by us to get the camp, the kitchen, the facilities ready for that. So we'll be working to do that, and that'll have to be part of it. Thank you.
So next we have Fall Fellowship, Walk Pomini, October 16th through the 18th. Again, we're still planning on having that. They're really just like the Lodge Induction Weekend. We're kind of just waiting for guidelines, looking at to see what's going to happen with that. Does anybody have any ideas of what we would like to see at the Fall Fellowship? Kind of like, I don't know, activities and such that we would like to see. We can talk about before then. If you want to put it in the chat, that would be good. So while people are putting those in the chat or taking ideas, I'll talk about Treasure Island. So Treasure Island, we're planning, which is the birthplace of the Order of the Arrow. We are planning on going there next April 9th to the 11th. We've had this trip planned since I think it was the last LECM. We had this trip planned. We're still good to go for that. Treasure Island hasn't really come out with anything about COVID. But if it still is affecting us by then we'll definitely take it into consideration. Mr. Casey, you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I saw a question in the chat about back to our Conclave 2020, and registration for that is open. Everyone has the option of registering, and everyone has to make their own decision about whether they would attend or not. I have registered. only because as the lodge advisor, I would need to be there. I absolutely can understand people having a hesitancy to travel and go to an event like a conclave, but we'll have to see how things shake out and what goes on relative to whether or not it'll even be. So that's kind of answering that question. Chief, what did you want me to address? I'm sorry.
Treasure Island.
Treasure Island, right. Okay. So I think this is a great opportunity. The officers have come up with this idea. And since we already had the bus reserved for going to NOAC, they have kindly taken our $200 deposit and allowed us to schedule the bus for the Treasure Island trip in April of 2021. I do think traveling by bus as a group is safer, and we're all together, and we don't have to worry about people getting lost, drivers, that kind of thing. So it'll add a little expense to the trip relative to instead of just climbing in people's cars, but I think the safety factor is important and will provide for a much better trip.
And George, parking is extremely limited at Treasure Island. I've been there several times. When there's a large group, you have to park like a mile or two away and walk off the road to be able to get there. So I would strongly encourage everybody to take the bus.
Will they let the buses come in and unload?
The camp is on island. So the reason that you have limited parking is that you have a space right near the ranger's house right on the road where you can park. My recollection is maybe 15 to 20 vehicles.
Okay.
And then you cross the road and go down and are ferried across to the island.
Right.
So with if we're taking a bus, then we're going to be limited by how many people can go.
It would be a 55 passenger bus, okay. Mark. I mean, if we were going to have more people than that, we could, we can certainly look at reserving a second bus or, the thing is it gets cost prohibitive if we're going to have like 60 people and then, we'll work it out.
Yeah, you can also get small vans too, or rent a van to go down there, or somebody has a van that they're able to take. Yep, in addition to the bus.
Yeah, when does registration open for that event? I know it's April next year, but
we'll be doing that after the first of the year.
Okay.
Mark, when we get more, and again, the organization that's running Treasure Island is it's a not-for-profit preservation group to preserve the Treasure Island Scout Camp, so it doesn't, get turned into I don't know what. There were different ideas for it, but this is, people are definitely booking and going there. So we've Fox researched this extensively and provided the information to the officers.
It's a private group that bought the island from the Scout Council, and they have given preference to scouting units because they are scouts themselves to be able to use Treasure Island. But there also will be the people in the public who are there. How many they allow at a specific time, I don't know, but everybody has advanced registration.
All right, thank you. Next, we'll talk about Conclave 2021. Grant, you want to talk about that?
All right. So, as some of you may know, so next year's Conclave 21, will be held by us, Kittan Lodge, at Wakpamani Scout Camp. And so, traditionally, we as the lodge come up with a theme for the Conclave, and then we do like a grand announcement at the year before's Conclave, so that would be this year. Of course, right, we don't know if that's going to happen, but we should still come up with a theme. And then so when they have the first Council of Chiefs meeting in November, we can propose the theme, and it's almost always approved. And so right now I'd like to open the floor to see, you can put it in the chat if you have any ideas for what you'd like to do for the theme. Some past examples. So last year was Star Wars themed. The year before was Wild Wild West. And then the year before that was was when it was at Rotary and we had the tropical island theme. So if anyone else has any has been to other conclaves and can share any other ideas too. All right, so right now we have the Mountain Man theme, Space Cowboys, '40th anniversary of Indiana Jones. Yeah, that's a good idea.
I like that one.
I'm not sure about Mr. Casey. Would you know if it gets canceled? Do we still hold it, right?
Supposed to hit 2020.
That's a good question, Grant. The effort that goes into hosting a conclave, and you've been deeply involved with these, I would like to see the Leatherstocking Council Lodge host the next conclave. And I'm not saying, give them a pass, but I really want them to, endure the conclave experience from the management standpoint. I mean, the amount of work that went into the conclave that we hosted at Rotary, which was a smashing success, was huge. There were a lot of exhausted people at the end of that weekend. So I'm sure it'll be the same for us. Now, the one thing I'll say is that they probably would continue to host it because the Olympic theme would still be good next year for them. But it's not a bad idea for us right now to begin kicking around ideas and, preparing for the, we're next in line. And that's probably the best way to look at it.
Past history, while there's never been a cancellation before, there have been switches. A lodge came almost a year before the conclave and said, wait a minute, we're not prepared to be able to do it next year. Can we switch with the people who are doing it the year after? And that has happened. So my guess is going to be, if it's not held, that they will have the opportunity to hold it based on our conclave history.
Just to let you know, it's 2:40, almost 2:44.
I'm sorry, I was muted. Okay, so if everybody wants to mute themselves and go into the new tab to watch the video, it will premiere at 2:45. And then after the video is done, we'll come back and complete the meeting.
Great job on that video, guys. That's really, really good.
Thank you. I had the help of these two knuckleheads, and yeah, it's quite fun.
Very good, and congratulations to all of the selected Vigil candidates.
Yes, congratulations.
And I also had the opportunity to work with Sean as well with parts of this video as well. So, and if you guys ever want to see it again, it's up on that YouTube page. You guys can go look at it any time and make sure everyone in our lodge sees it.
It'll be on the social media too, the link to it, so you can check it there.
Whoa. All right. Does anybody have any questions before we get to the advisor's minute?
Chief, what about momentum?
Yes. Okay. So that was that's going to be at in West Virginia, right?
Yes.
Okay. So how the lodge is looking at Momentum is we're not sending a contingent down to Momentum, but if you want to go individually, you can go. Mr. Casey, do you know how you explained how the money works out? I
Yeah,
think the
and
funds just go there.
the lodge is not sending a contingent, and we are returning the funds that have been paid in by all contingent members directly to them with a check from the council. We opted not to send people to Momentum because I'll be honest with you, I don't know how they're going to pull this thing off, just sort of on a wing and a prayer. I'm not able to go, and not planning on going. So relative to going as individuals, you'll have to check and see what the policy on that is with the national. At one point, it was going to have to be lodge contingents. I'm not sure where it is right now. I haven't been tracking, but if anyone wishes to go, please contact me and I'll try to get you answers, okay?
Any other questions? All right, so then we'll move to the advisor's minute.
Again, I want to thank Sam for the wonderful video and the great call out video that was shown at the council camporee. That really, they're well done, they're professionally done, and we're very fortunate to have an Arrowman with his abilities in our group. For the advisor's minute, I want to come back to the obligation. And we say this at every meeting, we raise our hands in the scout sign. But I think under the circumstances today, I think we really need to think about what Dr. Goodman was talking about in that. And I want to refer to the last part of the obligation where we say, will endeavor, so far as in my power lies, to be unselfish in service and devotion to the welfare of others. Dr. Goodman chose that word very carefully. He didn't say fellows, he didn't say friends, he didn't say scouts, he said others. We need to look outside our organization as well as within when we think about the obligation, as well as the Scout Oath and Law. Those of you who have received Vigil letters from me, or maybe an Eagle Scout charge or an Eagle congratulatory letter, I've always said in those, the hardest thing that you'll ever have to do is live by the Scout Oath, Law, and the obligation of the Order of the Arrow. So in these times, I'd like us all to think about that. We're going to have a lot of work to do, not only within our lodge, within scouting, but within our country as well. So with that, Chief, thank you.
Thank you. So we'll move on to the closing song. So if everybody wants to cross their arms, we'll sing the closing song. Firm bound in brotherhood, gather the clan that cheerful service brings to fellow men. Circle our council fire, will tightly every link that binds us in brotherhood when mock tending. Sorry about my singing voice, guys. Thank you, everybody.
That's good. Yeah, you're good. You're good. We just do a little more background, that's all.
Nice job, Chief.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Hopefully, we'll see everybody in the fall at the Fall Fellowship. Thank you all for coming on here.